Hello, friends. How are you today? I'm so excited to be with you to explain the Jericho Effect. What is the Jericho Effect? I want to show you some diagrams about how the walls of Jericho fell when they were under siege, not by fighting, not by launching of anything or any of these mechanical means. They fell through the effects of vibration. But I want to show you how this Jericho effect applies today. And I'm just really excited to go over this with you. I want to say that the inspiration for this for me came from a Bards of War podcast or video back in, I think, the late spring of 2021. So since then, I've taken that information to another level, and we're going to take a look at that now. So here we have a structure. It could represent a government building or a building representing an authority. And then here are the walls and the gate. This is emulating the city of Jericho in the Bible. That's in the story of Joshua 6. So you can take a look at that when we're done if you want to read the actual story. But it's essentially the essence and the moral and the meaning of the story comes down to that following God's guidance, having courage and taking action in alignment with that guidance leads to miraculous and unexpected victory. Now, in the modern day, the walls could represent something more than the walls around a specific city, because the structure of our society today is a little bit different. The walls around Jericho were meant to protect the buildings and the home and the authority structure and all of that. Well, today, we could consider that some of the walls are governmentally related. Some of the walls might be related to health officers' mandates and this sort of thing. Some of the walls might be financially related, like fiat currencies or digital currencies or other financially related issues. Some of them might be corporate related, like the corporate policies that are employed. Some of them might be technology related, again, policy related in many cases. Some of the walls may be by adherents of specific ideologies, whether those are political or whether they are ways of thinking that have become cultish, that have become even like a false light that everyone else is asked to follow. They could be policy-related walls, could be the walls of the matrix, the matrices, the vertical and horizontal lines that hold an energetic matrix together, a matrix perhaps of thoughts, of emotions, or beyond what we can see, some type of matrix that we don't quite understand. It could be related to human relationships, modes of interrelating, and things that have come into human relationship that are beyond previous norms or beyond the norms of love, of kindness, consideration. The walls could be social norms that have been developed or where the Overton window has been moved to new norms. These are the new walls. If we take the concept in the Bible story and we apply it to today, these are some of the walls that we might discuss or encounter. Now, it's really interesting to take a look at what is happening in Canada and with the trucker convoys and look at what that means in terms of the Jericho effect. So here you have the city, surrounded by a wall, whether it's the ideological, financial, governmental, health-related mandates, etc. And so I'm saying that some of the walls maybe can't be seen, but maybe the effects of those walls affect our life, affect our physical life, just like the walls constrained the movement of people in olden times. Well, it's so interesting because in the story of Jericho, what happened was the soldiers circled the walls of Jericho for 7 days. And as they circled the walls, they blew their horns. The horn is reminiscent of Archangel Gabriel, who's often shown with a trumpet, making announcements about God's wishes or calling in the divine. So the soldiers circled for 7 days, and the people shouted, and to their great surprise, a miraculous victory happened. The walls crumbled. And what caused that? I want to look at this with you. The physical effects of the sound going around the walls, the physical effects of the shouts of marchers for freedom, of the singing of patriotic songs, of the clip-clopping of hooves of horses, and of the incredible vibrations of big, heavy trucks blowing their horns. What that does is it sends all of these vibrations towards the physical structures and towards the non-physical structures. What happens is these walls begin to tremble, and because the vibrations after a while create a dissonant effect where the sounds are bouncing off of the walls, and they get faster and faster to where the walls can't recover from the vibrational effects, and there's an amplification. And there's a flexing almost that happens at the physical level prior to crumbling. This flexing is comparable to the story I told in my last Schumann Resonance video. I'll link it below, about a cliff that has recently partially fallen on a walk that I do at the coast. And over years, I had heard frequently that boop, 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 the little small sounds of rocks coming down. And often it'd just be a lot of little sand, but once in a while there'd be bigger rocks, but ones that were maybe the size of coins. In recent years, because of the intensity of storms and the long period of time over which these vibrations have been working through the hill, boom. Suddenly the effects built up, trees started to let go because enough sand removed from beneath them, etc., and the entire cliff wall has fallen. And I can now see places further along the cliff wall where the land is actually tearing from the higher cliff. And so it's a process. When you speed it up, as in the Bible story, over 7 days, on the 7th day, the walls just crumbled. And we can take that 7-day period as being representative of a period of time. It may or may not actually be 7 days in our human reality, because we're talking about divine timing here and what works in God's timing. Ooh, that feels good, doesn't it? That same effect of the horns, the human voices, the singing, the clip-clopping of the hooves, the rolling of this heavy machinery. I mean, tons and tons of weight rolling right through town or parking in town. It's a huge physical shift in terms of the vibrations that are going off in whatever towns this is occurring in. And Canada has been leading the way. I mean, what you guys have done is incredible and incredibly inspiring. I've got your flag down there. Okay, so sound energy and human movement, inspired by divine guidance and human intention, leads to courageous and viral human action. This is the Jericho effect in the physical. So in the physical, vibrations affect physical reality. The walls start to flex, and eventually, if effort, application, integrity, and the sound based on God's guidance through human beings continues, that eventually is what will be the effect, because physical reality begins to flex. There's also an energetic effect, and this is my addition here. Heart energy and human movement together, inspired by divine guidance and human intention, leads to courageous and viral human action. We often discount, right, the flow through us, the flow of divinity and of love. But in the energetic, in the non-physical, okay, the love that emanates from the hearts of millions creates a frequency effect. And this frequency effect goes into and beyond the walls. It's of a higher, more expanded level where it can actually pass through the walls and reach the people beyond the walls, beyond the gate. And in some cases of these many people who are trapped behind the walls or believing they're doing the right thing behind the walls or whatever their orientation is, some of them start to have heart openings. See here? The more people behind the walls that start to have heart openings, the more space and opportunity there is for this divine love that's being sent, right, to ground within these human beings and then expand. And when that expansion occurs, you have a similar Jericho effect to what happens in the physical world. The walls start to vibrate, and this vibration occurs from a very high expanded state. It's essentially like God calling out to his lost ones. And when this happens, okay, because what I'm showing here is that these human beings have chosen to align with the divinity within them, to express divine will through them, through actual action in the physical world. And they do this through love. And that's why the peaceful nature, the joyful nature of what's happening in Canada is so incredibly beautiful, but also powerful, because it creates a point at which all parties can unite, something that's common for all human beings, the ability to connect with the divinity within, the ability to act from one's own soul. And so the more love that is sent to these walls, it goes through them and reaches those people beyond the walls, and their heart spaces start to tremble, and the walls around their heart fall. And this is a primary action, a primary mover. God works through the people outside the walls and then begins to awaken the people past the walls. And as this happens, the vibratory effect on this side of the walls and the vibratory effect on this side starts to create a dissonance with the walls that are existing, that neither side is now aligning with. And when the energetic support for these walls is removed through these heart openings, okay, the walls tremble, they flex, and then they fall when intention and devotion is applied to the effort in alignment with the highest good, which is known by God's guidance through the human being, through the communication of the soul, through the whispers in prayer, through one's conscience, through one's inner sense of integrity, one's gut feel. These are uniquely human capabilities that each one of us has. So what happens is that the frequencies of God, love, and courage affect energetic reality. So you have some people opening their hearts beyond the walls. Some people will sense the energy and consciously choose to harden their hearts. Another thing that has been talked about quite a bit in the Bible, where the prophet speaks and it hardens the hearts of some. Okay, so this is a choice that these people have made. And some people will be, in a way, unaffected. They don't really seem like they're part of what's going on. They're not engaged. They seem empty related to these concepts. When hearts open, energetic reality shifts and flexes. And look, you even have the heart open here of the horsey. Isn't it beautiful? You've got the truckers, you've got the people on the streets coming out, you've got the people on horseback and in cars. Love vibrations shift human souls. And when this happens, the opportunity to have a shift in physical reality in the physical world happens. The opportunity for these walls to completely shift or be remade in alignment with God's guidance through the human being, in alignment with our inner connection with that. Now, each person chooses according to their own soul path. As human beings, we were given free will choice by the Creator. And some will choose to harden their hearts. Some will choose to align with their heart, soul, God. When I say heart, I'm not talking about emotions or mental constructs, although when you align with your heart, you usually feel good, okay? But I'm talking about something greater than that, something that you know what it is when you experience that knowing, yes, this is it, okay? It's nonverbal. It's beyond, in some ways, it's beyond words. And so some will choose to align with their heart, with soul, with God, with their soul. Some will choose to be empty or disengaged here. You see, nothing's happening here in the heart center with these people. Oh, this one had a heart opening. When the walls fall, God's guidance and human intention rebuild and renew, because it was by faith that the walls of Jericho fell after the army had marched around them for 7 days.